Every year, a new show pops up on my radar that pleasantly surprises me and becomes a new must-watch for me. Last year, it was the dramedy Ted Lasso. This year's pleasant surprise, Starz Heels, which reminds me a lot of Ted Lasso, a sport I know little about, a town seemingly unfamiliar to me, but built with wonderful characters, an interesting overarching plot, and high-quality acting. Today's review will not only inform you of the wonderful show that is Heels, but convince you why it is one of the best new shows on television. Heels is an American drama television series on Starz that was released in August of 2021. The show, written by the head writer of Loki, as well as the upcoming film Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Michael Waldron, focuses on a small town in Georgia. The town, Duffy, is a quaint southern town where everyone knows everyone. One big family united under one roof, the Duffy Dome, home to the town's infamous wrestling league, the DWL. At the center of it all is brothers Jack Spade and Ace Spade. Jack, a heel in the DWL, or the villain, runs the league on the back of hard-working amateur fighters after the passing of the Spades brothers' father. Opposite of him is his rebellious, talented, and severely misunderstood brother Ace Spade. Together, this family is vying for the national spotlight whilst battling over family demons. Heels became an idea in 2017 for Michael Waldron, who grew up inspired by wrestling. The writer considered it his comic books growing up, enchanted by the myth behind these larger-than-life legends. He would also be helped by the talented Michael Amell, who Heels fans will come to know as the series' pseudo-villain, rival wrestling promoter Charlie Goley. Starring the two lead roles is Stephen Amell in the role of the older brother Jack Spade.
This is where we're gonna be in this fucking town. If it's gonna be a normal life, it's not enough. It is not enough for me.
Amell has become well known for his tenure on Arrow, and I became a big fan of his dramatic acting as well as his physical talents on the screen.
You see what she does out there?
That's what I thought about Sarah, too.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop hiding behind your daughters! They would be ashamed of what you're doing right now!
Playing the rebellious, unpredictable Ace Spade is Vikings actor Alexander Ludwig. Unfortunately, prior to the show, I had zero experience with Ludwig, and after the series had ended, was something I was immensely disappointed by.
His spirit got broken.
How did his spirit get broken?
Listen, I'm not going to hold anything back. I've never been a fan of wrestling. Sure, it has always been fake, and that's a reason a lot of people don't like it. Maybe it's just the flair of it all, but despite the dislike, I still respected the physical body of work it takes. My fear walking into the show was how much wrestling did I have to love, or even know, to enjoy the show. Truthfully, I've never really understood the appeal of wrestling. Men in tights, flinging themselves at each other. I was always into superheroes, or men in tights flinging themselves at each other. Damn, okay. Like the previously mentioned Ted Lasso, soccer, or football isn't the main focus of the show. Wrestling is a big part of the show, but it isn't the show. It's this wonderfully diverse family dynamic, not only between the Spade brothers and their own separate families, but this larger ensemble cast. The league that was built by their dad had blossomed into a welcoming place for amateurs trying to not only impress and entertain others, but simply grow as people. This family blossoms into a part of the show I never expected. This includes rousing performances from various names like Kelly Berglund, a valet of Ace that turns into a superstar both in the ring and on the show. Duke Davis Roberts, Trey Tucker, Robbie Ramos, and Alan Maldonado play Big Jim, Bobby Pin, Diego Cottonmouth, and Rooster, all with their own well-written personalities and motives. Perhaps the biggest surprise to me, left off of the roster, was former NFL All-Pro James Harrison in the role of Apocalypse. Sports players get bad, deserved raps for being unable to act.
What's the difference between Miami and Cleveland? It's the same.
Something about their portrayals always seems stiff, or a reminder that they don't really belong in front of the camera. Harrison's performance in this series is one of the best sports performances I've ever seen as the lovable, larger-than-life Pac.
Have gratitude for your regrets. They are there to remind you to be a better version of yourself.
Rallying this crew is Jack's business partner, Willie Day, played by the always wonderful Mary McCormick. Heels pulls no punches. In fact, sometimes the drama can be extremely hard-hitting, dealing with undercurrents such as suicide and various biblical interpretations that speak well over the overarching plot. While the journey to making the DWL successful is clearly the battle to win, it isn't the primary one, with the center point clearly being the battle from within the Spade family. Jack's doing his best to protect his brother Ace, whose passion leads him to dangerous and stupid mistakes. In doing so, he oversteps his bounds in a way that allows Ace's emotional side to be completely understandable. This boils over into Jack's personal life, making his marriage and relationship with his son difficult. The top-notch writing and character work really made me understand each side of the aisle. Jack is doing what he thinks is best for his brother by shielding him from the outside world, but in it is holding him back from experiencing it. The moment Ace gets a chance to do anything, he ruins it by being a jerk or reminding himself of the life he has lost. Heels has this immense struggle that isn't just noticed in the ring, but around town. This means so much to this town and is clearly demonstrated by the crowds of people that line up to go into the arena, which, hats off to the crew behind Heels. This was filmed in its entirety during the pandemic. You'd never know, and that is honestly so damn impressive, so hats off to the crew. Instilling a sense of balance and normalness is Jack's wife, Stacey Spade, played by the lovely Allison Luff. She's doing her best to right Jack's ship, one that is clearly sailing into familiar territory that his father was lost in. She's protective, but eventually starts to lose grip with Jack's controlling, sometimes malevolent ways. At first, I thought maybe her character would be problematic to the show, but it's that wonderful writing that makes her side of the story compelling and hard to argue with. The opposite can be said for Chris Bauer's infamous Wild Bill Hancock.
He sure is the same cocky sumbitch whose arrogance seems a bit misplaced considering his staggering lack of accomplishments.
He's a good man.
While Stacey clearly grounds this world of wrestling, Wild Bill embodies it with sex, drugs, and pure testosterone. His character embodies the loud, obnoxious grace of wrestling, but eventually he becomes rather endearing and one of the better characters on the show.
But my daughter had nothing to do with what I did or said to you.
That's why I'm apologizing.
Heels has some browsing set pieces, usually in the ring, that are well choreographed and staged. Fights have the familiar wrestling feel to them, and sometimes, when they become more serious, have a surprising intensity to them that often leads to a surprising "oh snap." The series, filmed on location, is absolutely gorgeous, as this town of Duffy becomes a character as much as any other character in the show. It makes this inner struggle between the family and the hopes of DWL become more real than it should feel. As it stands, despite my immense praise of the show, as well as the high criticism received on Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic, the show has yet to be renewed by Starz. In my opinion, this is a huge mistake, as Heels embodies great television. Yeah, sometimes the drama can be hard to handle, but I soon found that feeling was washed away with great laughs from the characters and wonderment on how each character would solve whatever situation they were in. The narrative structure leads you to believe an episode might end in one way, only for it to go in a complete opposite direction. By the last episode, a climatic ladder match, I was so excited and in Heels fashion was immediately surprised by the result. The show takes risks, and honestly, every risk is as daring and surprisingly thought out than the last. Heels is a wonderful show, packed by powerful performances. Each heavy-hitting dramatic situation is directed with much confidence in every actor. Characters are rich, well-written, and despite the large cast, you fall in love with every one of these characters. Your lack of wrestling understanding won't hinder you, and in fact, might open your eyes to a world that is fascinating in its own right. It's honestly the best new show I've seen this year, and one you're missing out on.